Yesterday afternoon, news broke that Anthony "Rumble" Johnson, the former two-time UFC title contender, former Bellator fighter, former World Series of Fighting fighter, tragically, at the very young age of 38, passed away.
Anthony "Rumble" Johnson passed away on November 13th from complications from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Rumble was somebody that a lot of us loved here.
Rest in peace, Rumble. Rumble passed away this week.
Yeah.
Apparently, he had some form of, I think it was like non-Hodgkin's lymphoma or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Known for his fatal strikes and annihilating knockouts, Anthony "Rumble" Johnson was arguably the scariest fighter to ever step into the cage. His ridiculous power punches were enough to put any fighter to sleep. But on November the 13th, 2022, devastating headlines shocked the entire UFC and mixed martial arts fanbase. Now, let's dive in deeper to learn about the sad story of Anthony "Rumble" Johnson, a legend gone but not forgotten. Anthony Johnson was just 20 years old when a friend encouraged him to try mixed martial arts because of his wrestling background and athleticism. Johnson, who was raised by his grandparents in Georgia, battled his way to a wrestling scholarship at Lassen College in Susanville, California. He would later go on to win the Junior College National Freestyle Wrestling Championship at 174 pounds before looking for his next pursuit and discovering MMA during his time as a bouncer in California.
I was raised up in a small community called Cedar Grove, Wrench, Georgia. My grandparents, at the age of 2, they adopted me. My mom, she was straight poor, and raising 3 kids. Deep down inside, I think she knew that I had potential at being something in life.
Being an incredible athlete, Johnson took up striking extremely fast and instantly fell in love with the sport. Johnson made his professional MMA debut just 2 years after starting his training, winning in 69 seconds by TKO in a local show in California in 2006. His incredible power quickly earned him the title of Rumble, since any strike from the Titan might cause the ground to shake. A month later, he competed in a welterweight tournament in Colorado, where he won 2 fights by decision in one night and became the winner of the competition. And since then, the fighter had his eyes set on the UFC. Johnson's performance was stuck in the minds of company bosses even after not being selected for the 6th season of UFC's reality series, The Ultimate Fighter. When Steve Bruno withdrew from his fight with Chad Renier, Johnson stepped in on 5 days' notice. Fans wouldn't have picked Johnson for a win due to the big step-up in competition where it was just his 4th pro fight, while his opponent Chad Renier had a record of 13-2. Despite the odds, it took only a mere 13 seconds to put Renier to sleep. Renier half face-planted and became stiff as a board as the referee moved in to protect him from any further shots. Rumble had a reputation for being one of the largest weight cutters in the sport. This gave him a significant size advantage, but also made him prone to gassing out in the later stages. Concerns started arising over whether Johnson's weight cut success would last. It did not. Johnson was 6 pounds over the welterweight limit prior to being submitted by Rich Clemente in his first professional defeat. Given a lengthy training camp, Johnson was able to successfully make weight for his next showdown with Tommy Spear, a 9-2 opponent with a strong wrestling history. However, Johnson soon earned his status back as a raw yet deadly knockout artist. In just 51 seconds, he blocked his takedown attempts and annihilated Spear, folding him like a lawn chair with a brutal right hand.
Oh, that's it! It is unbelievable! Huge knockout!
His right hand, boom! That was the one that finished him.
Rumble Johnson!
Johnson was introduced to the unfortunate side of fighting when he fought Kevin Burns in 2008.
He's hungry. You know, he had his first win over a huge opponent. I just had a big win over Tommy Spear, and this is our first main card. So I think both of us are going to go in there and really give it our all and see who's the better fighter.
I think people assume that Anthony Johnson is the more powerful fighter, but at this point, they haven't had a chance to see the skills and the power that I possess.
Burns repeatedly poked Johnson in the eyes throughout the fight. The last poke was so painful that Johnson fell to the ground in agony.
Oh my goodness!
This resulted in Johnson suffering a cracked retina that would further require surgery. Burns became the only person to have ever won a fight through an eye poke because referee Steve Mazzagatti decided to score the hit as a technical knockout rather than disqualifying Burns.
Kevin, the Fire Burns!
After he recovered, a rematch was deemed necessary, so they fought again. This time, Rumble ultimately delivered a savage kind of vengeance. Following his two-part series with Burns, he gained momentum by thrashing the tough-as-nails Luigi Fioravanti in the opening round. This earned him a step up in competition against Matt Brown. Sadly, Brown had to withdraw due to injury, so Johnson fought Yoshiyuki Yoshida at UFC 104. Rumble once again was 5 pounds over the welterweight limit, and many fans started questioning if the welterweight division suited the massive fighter. However, Rumble damaged Yoshida early on and continued to smash him with a sniper right hand. The entire fight lasted about 41 seconds.
Rumble Johnson!
I gotta just stop any hope and any dream that he has of getting an opportunity to fight for the title.
I always get that knockout sooner or later. Once he feels my first punch, he'll know who he's fighting.
Rumble proved his dedication to welterweight by accepting another last-minute fight against Josh Koscheck. Koscheck's takedown attempts were foiled by Johnson, who also rocked him halfway through the first round. The match was stopped when Johnson miscalculated his timing and threw an illegal knee in the direction of Koscheck's head.
There's just no doubt about it, right in the eye.
Johnson was finally taken down by Koscheck, but the second round eye poke by Koscheck raised further questions. Once Koscheck had Johnson on the ground, he used hard ground and pound before applying a rear naked choke that made Rumble submit.
He's going out! He
That knee injury held Rumble out of the 2010 season, forcing him to delay his comeback. In 2011, Johnson made a successful comeback and defeated Dan Hardy with his ground and pound and wrestling abilities. Charlie Brenneman, who was 3-1 in the UFC and had defeated Rick Story, was his opponent on UFC on Versus 6. Rumble dominated, delivering powerful punches and knees to the body, while Brenneman seemed to be desperately trying to get off the ground. Charlie was able to get up, but was immediately rocked by Rumble's left high kick. Mario Yamasaki, the referee, stepped in to prevent any further damage. After continuous struggles to make weight, he moved up to middleweight to make his debut against Vitor Belfort at UFC 142. However, it was a back-and-forth battle between the future titans of MMA until Vitor was able to take his back and lock in a rear naked choke, forcing him to submit. Johnson had now lost 3 submission matches through RNC. He was released from the UFC, who said they were willing to bring him back if he was able to get his act straight. This was the lowest point of his career. He returned with absolute vengeance, going on a 9-fight win streak through 3 different promotions. David Branch, a middleweight with a decent record of 10-2, was Johnson's first opponent. Branch failed to reach his target weight and came in at 194.2 pounds. The fight was a catchweight bout at 195 pounds. Rumble won by unanimous decision.
Very strong in there. Single leg here from Johnson, puts him on his back for the first time in the contest. Overhand right, he telegraphed that one. Good inside length into that femoral profunda.
Anthony Johnson!
He then made his light heavyweight debut against Estevez Jones. Johnson won by second round TKO at 205 pounds. He kept his momentum and TKO'd Jake Rochold with a vicious head kick. Johnson competed against DJ Linderman after joining the World Series of Fighting. Late in round 1, Johnson was poked in the eye. Despite Johnson's protest, Herb Dean did not stop the bout. Linderman rushed in and ran into a vicious overhand right.
That is it!
DJ was sent face first into the floor.
Rumble Johnson!
Johnson saw a chance to compete against UFC heavyweight veteran Andrei Arlovsky. He won this fight by unanimous decision.
A little off balance, but continues to come back. Explosive. He looks like he's motivated. Big time motivated. Rumble bringing the heat.
And that's what he should do. He's got all that big power. He should throw it. Nice kicks. They come out of nowhere.
Anthony Johnson secured another KO against Mike Kyle in his final match in the World Series of Fighting.
Anthony Rumble Johnson!
When I'm fighting, I don't even really hear the crowd. I kind of forget where I'm at. I just want to hunt and stalk the guy that's in front of me and hurt him as much as I can.
My job is to win. I'm going to land some good strikes. I'm looking to submit. I'm looking to finish the fight as soon as possible.
After 6 straight wins, he rejoined the UFC and matched up with 12-win prospect Phil Davis. Rumble, who had previously been outmatched by Vitor Belfort, Josh Koscheck, and Rich Clementi at lighter weight classes, was anticipated to be defeated by Davis, an NCAA Division I champion wrestler. Rumble's remarkable form against Davis's takedown attempts as a 3-1 favorite stunned Davis. Johnson outpunched Davis and delivered powerful uppercuts to stop Davis from shooting. Johnson also showed he had the stamina to go the distance. This was one of Johnson's strongest performances and a sign of his developing career.
But guess what, everybody? Anthony Rumble Johnson's in the middle, baby. I ain't gonna give up.
After beating Phil Davis, Johnson fought experienced Pride veteran Antonio Rodrigo Nogueira. Johnson's lightning-fast 44-second victory put Johnson back in the top 10.
Oh my goodness! That's it! It is all over! Just like that! A very fast pace. Moving the fight, brought to you by Metro PCS. Between the guard, the right hand goes around it, the left hand goes around the right. Boom! That uppercut lands. And the lights go out.
Anthony Rumble Johnson!
Hopefully I keep putting fear in everybody's heart, you know? I have been down a pretty crazy road, you know? The story of me is pretty out there, you know? But I'm not afraid to admit my faults, and I just want everybody to know that I love them, and thank you for accepting me back in San Jose.
This fight earned him a contenders match in Stockholm, Sweden against previous championship challenger Alexander Gustafsson. Johnson delivered a nasty overhand right after catching a front kick from Gustafsson. Although Gustafsson was able to endure the assault, Rumble persisted in capturing Gustafsson on the mat, delivering brutal ground and pound.
Oh, that was a... It's all over! Anthony Rumble Johnson!
Johnson's unexpected victory allowed him to see his potential as a top fighter and gave him a chance to challenge John Bones Jones for the light heavyweight belt.
Rumble Johnson!
I want to say thank you, Stockholm, for having me here tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. And John Jones, you know what I'm saying? I hope you get well, brother. Let's get this championship fight on, man, and make the crowd and the fans excited about this.
Since Rumble appeared to be Jones's kryptonite, fans eagerly anticipated the showdown between Rumble and Bones. However, a month before their fight, Jones was involved in a hit-and-run accident.
Jon Jones has been stripped of his UFC light heavyweight title,
which led to the UFC revoking him of his UFC championship and placing him on an extended suspension. Instead, ex-Olympic wrestler Daniel Cormier agreed to compete against Johnson for the vacant title crown. Cormier proved his skills as a champion. Rumble was finally stopped midway through the third round by rear naked choke.
He's gonna tap. It is all over! Daniel Cormier is the new UFC light heavyweight champion!
DC
Jimmy Manua, a heavy-handed fighter and knockout artist, was still no match for AJ. With a devastating right hand, Johnson knocked out Manua early, beginning a 3-fight winning streak that would eventually lead to a rematch with Daniel Cormier. Ryan Bader was the next opponent to be knocked out by Rumble, who made Bader look like a complete beginner. Glover Teixeira, a heavy-handed slugger and submission expert, was Johnson's last victim before his second shot at UFC Gold.
It doesn't matter who it is, you know. For me, it's the competition that drives me.
DC is my biggest opponent by far. He's the guy that beat me. He's the one guy that made me have a reality check, you know, that made me want to get better.
Former MMA fighters Anthony Johnson and Daniel Cormier were scheduled to face off once more for the light heavyweight championship in 2017. Unfortunately, DC won by rear naked choke again. Johnson gave an emotional post-fight interview where he announced his retirement from the sport.
I said, I love you. This was my last fight. I didn't even tell Dana White. I didn't tell anybody. My coaches knew. My family knew. My friends knew. I didn't want any distractions. But I have to thank you all for being there for me, you know. I do want to say this. I want to say thank you to everybody that listened to me and believed in me. And when I asked you not to come to the fight, you didn't come. You truly respected me. You guys are the ones I love, and you are my true friends and family. And I have to say one more thing. Big shout out to my boy, Goldie. He wasn't here, and I wanted him to be here for my last fight, but Mike, I love you, baby. Peace out, everybody. DC, thank you. Thank you.
Anthony Rumble Johnson, ladies and gentlemen.
4 years later, the itch to compete returned, so he fought on May 7th, 2021, after signing a contract with Bellator. He was scheduled to fight Yoel Romero, the other scariest man alive, but was replaced by Jose Augusto Acevedo late to replace Romero after a health concern pushed him out. Rumble won with a blazing 1-2 after he struggled in the opening round, instilling fear in the hearts of his opponents yet again. Sadly, his glorious comeback was short-lived. He had the world to conquer but lost the battle of his life to non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a severe and fatal medical condition which prevented him from competing in the semifinals. His life and career came to an end as a result on November the 13th, 2022. Anthony "Rumble" Johnson turned out to be arguably the scariest fighter to have ever lived. He ruled the octagon for years, but he also left a lasting impression on his peers and fans through his kindness and humility outside the cage. He was a fierce fighter and a kind human being, a true fighter from the heart. Unfortunately, gone too soon.